Our guest today is Apollo Hernandez, who is a candidate running for Texas State Senate District 5. Welcome, Apollo. Thanks for coming to Bastrop County.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. I think it's very important to actually speak with people in the populace in the area. So glad that y'all invited me.
Oh, well, thanks. So in learning more about you, I'm going to share a little bit of background that I know about you, and then I'd like to hear from you about why you're running for this particular office, as well as your goals and agenda if you are elected in March. Sound good?
Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward to it.
So you're a retired recon Marine with multiple deployments. Thank you for your service.
Appreciate it. It was like everyone knows about Navy SEALs. Not many know about reconnaissance Marines. We're kind of the oddballs that get forgotten about, but they're definitely leading the fight in the global war on terror. Actually, you've seen them in recently in the news with things going on in Venezuela. It's actually them, reconnaissance Marines, that have been, taking some of those ships that have been caught trying to smuggle contraband.
Yeah, for sure. So now you're a leader in the cybersecurity industry?
Correct. Yeah, I work for a very large cybersecurity vendor. I have a very unique role where I'm not a seller, I'm not an engineer. The sellers will bring me in to talk to a customer about why they need our tools, how to be compliant with XYZ laws, or how they could use our tool better and get more value out of the products.
Right. So you got your undergrad from UT in 2012.
I did, hook 'em horns.
Yeah. And then you got your MBA in 2020 at UT.
Yeah, I went to the Macomb School of Business and got a Master of Science in Technology Commercialization. It's basically like a tech MBA, very focused on the entrepreneurship side of the house, taking a product and commercializing it into the world.
So, and then you went to A&M Law.
Whoop. Yeah, that's I always catch a lot of grief about that. The way I see it, they're the best two schools in Texas. And I got a Master of Jurisprudence from the Texas A&M School of Law, focused on cybersecurity law, which is the industry that I'm in. So don't worry, I'm not an attorney. I'm not one of those folks that's going to go around suing a bunch of people. I just know how to interpret the law and interpret policy.
Right. And you are a husband and father of a daughter, and you live in Georgetown.
I do, in Georgetown, Texas. My wife is a former, teacher. She was a public school teacher for 13 years. And the proudest thing I have in my life is my daughter. She's 4 years old, an amazing little smart girl, gorgeous. Yeah, she's a big driver for a lot of the reasons that I'm running.
I bet. So what do you want the voters in District 5 to know about you, and why should they vote for you?
Yeah, I think we should have tested leadership. When I talk about being a combat veteran, I didn't just deploy overseas. I fought in combat. I fought in some of the largest battles that we've had in the global war on terror. The Battle of Fallujah, Operation Steel Curtain. I was over there, and I like to say I was pulling triggers and slaying dragons. If you know the old Marine Corps commercials, slaying dragons and then slaying lava monsters, I was a gunfighter. And I think that applies. It gives you that mindset that you can accomplish the task no matter what it is. Especially when I got into a special operations capable unit, the type of mindset that you have to make it through one of those gatehouse schools is just, you're going to accomplish the mission. And when I focus in and zero in on a mission, I do kind of whatever it takes to get that job done in a way that's effective. And especially reconnaissance Marines, we're one of the least funded special operations units that's out there. So we're able to do things, we're able to do more with less, I should say. So I really want to focus on getting into the role, getting elected, actually going around to the various locations, because it's a huge district. And I think, just as a reminder, or it gives me a reminder, every time you would leave a base, like in country, like in Iraq or Afghanistan, when you're leaving a base to go fight or to go conduct operations, you always see a sign that says complacency kills. And that's to give you a reminder that if you get lackadaisical, someone could get hurt, something could, be messed up, someone could die. And I think that kind of applies directly to what we have now in politics. I hate seeing long-term incumbents that have been there over, a decade, people that have been in service or in office for, longer than people that can vote have been alive. And I think that needs to get fixed ASAP. I think we should have people that are actually accountable and able to go out and be known, by the people. Being in office is about service, and I think being, part of service is being with the people, knowing the people, and getting out there in front of the people. And I think that's a huge part that I want to, affect if I get elected into office.
Yeah. So, Apollo, you're running against the current District 5 Senator Charles Schwertner, who's been in that office since 2013. I was going to say 2012. And he's really popular with his constituents. What would you bring differently than your opponent that you feel is currently lacking under Senator Schwertner?
Absolutely. I respect his service. He's done, anyone that's in public office, I think, has the best intentions and wants to do things the right way. But back to the complacency aspect, I do think that when you've been in office for so long, you get complacent. And, when I was telling people and kind of planning if I should run or not, people were constantly telling me, oh, don't run. He's got too much money. No one's going to vote him out of office. But you have to do hard things, and I'm willing to do hard things. I have a history of doing hard things in my life, and someone needs to, rock the boat a little bit. I think that, like I was saying, getting out there and getting in front of people is a difficult thing to do, and I'm willing to do that. Where I feel like my opponent has just been in office too long. He's gotten comfortable and he's gotten complacent. And like I was saying before, complacency kills. I think that's a important thing that would be a differentiator for me. The fact that, and I tell people all the time, I'm not a politician. I actually hate politics. I have no intention of doing this for as long as my opponent has. I want to get in there, do a couple terms, and then bounce out. And I actually do think, I know we have, people say, oh, what's the point of term limits? You can vote people out. Behind the scenes, it makes it really hard to compete with people if they have a ton of money. And there are a lot of, lobbyists and organizations that are well-funding candidates that have been in office for a long time, and that just keeps a cycle of having that same stagnant politician in office. And I think we need to fix that on all levels. I think we should put term limits in across the board. There shouldn't be people that have been in office longer than people have been alive. And when someone's been in a seat for over a decade, there's definitely, there's definitely going to be someone that's better. I think that we need to change the way that we have our limits, or actually establish term limits, and then say something to the effect like have legislation that says, hey, don't make this a simple majority, make it a qualified majority. Like, unless you're like a Ronald Reagan or Winston Churchill type person, where you're just extremely awesome, because there are some phenomenal candidates out there, or people and politicians that are elected in office, but make it to where it's a qualified majority, like maybe two-thirds vote or something like that, to actually stay in office. Or if they don't have anyone running against them, okay, then let them stay in office. But I think a lot of people aren't raising their hands to do public service because they see the money and they see, how difficult it is, and they get told by political insiders like, oh, you're never going to displace this guy. He's got too much money. Like, for instance, my opponent hasn't been primaried in I think almost a decade, which that's wrong. I think we do need to keep constantly a constant flow of people, just like in business. It's kind of innovate or die, and if you get stagnant, you're gonna fall behind. And I think we've done that in Texas.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you feel is lacking in the current office that you would bring to change that, and what's really important for you to accomplish in that position?
Absolutely. So I think one of the biggest things, like my goals for being in the seat, are to make Texas safe, affordable, and strong. And I think there's a couple different ways that we can do that. You can make Texas safe by backing law enforcement, and we've done a good job of doing that. But the fight's not over. The border's still kind of open. I grew up on the border. I know what it's like and the changes that have happened. We have a good administration in office now where it's slowed down, but they're waiting. Like you can't just hope for security. You have to build it. And I think we need to do that. And we can't just let the guards down because there isn't a constant flow. People are still scared on the border and inside of Texas because of the influx of immigration. We need to make sure that it's safe. Also, I want to make Texas strong. And I think the way that we make Texas strong is by, focusing on the future, which is our children. I want my daughter to have a really strong future, and every daughter or every kid in Texas to be able to have an education system and get educated in a way that makes sense. If we were our own country, we have the eighth best economy in the world. Period. Now, when you look at Texas and you look at our education system, we rank in the bottom half, and that's embarrassing. We need to fix that. I think we've made a lot of the correct strides to focus on that, but it's still not done yet. We still have to do a lot to make our education system be on par with the rest of America, not in the bottom half. It's not because of the teachers. The teachers are great, but we should pay teachers, what they're worth. There are people that have college degrees and go to school and have great hearts and want to help children, but they can make more working at Buc-ee's, or working at some job that, typically you don't think about being a job that is going to be as important as being a teacher. That's the future of Texas and the future of America. We need to focus on that. Also, the way that we fund schools, I think it's kind of abysmal. We're one of the only states that does like an attendance kind of scheme, I like to call it. Kids have to be in school a certain amount of time. We should just fund our schools. Most states just fund their schools. They do it by enrollment and not attendance. The voucher system that was just passed the last legislative session, I think it's a great step in the right direction. I think it makes a lot of sense on paper. I don't know if that's how it's going to work in reality. Like in the business world, I think it makes sense. Like if it's a bad business, you're going to take your business somewhere else. People will do that with their kids, but I don't think the reality of it is going to be real. But if we funded our schools and paid teachers what they should be paid, I think that could make schools better. I think it will make schools better because it takes that worry of not having enough funds to support a project or to support a program out of the picture, out of the equation. And that's a huge step. The way it is now, the voucher system, although I do think it's a good step in the right direction, it does take money away from our schools because we are based off of attendance. And I think the idea is, okay, well, now the public schools are going to get better because they want to get funded. I think that works in theory, works on paper. It sounds great, but I don't think it's the reality of what's going to happen. So that will be taken. People are going to be like the ones that can are going to be taking their kids to private schools and homeschool or doing whatever, and that takes away money from the school, which is something that we should absolutely avoid. I don't like
doing it now.
Yeah, I don't like the fact that that's the game plan as of now. Again, I think it took a lot of work to get that legislative agenda passed, and I'm glad that it was. But I think that there's still a lot of work that we need to do, to fix that. So that's making Texas strong. Making Texas affordable. We need to cap property taxes. Bastrop. We're just talking about before we started the interview how the growth of Bastrop has just it's a completely different city from how I remember it growing up. In Georgetown, we're seeing that big time. It was the fastest growing city in America in 2021 and 2022. It's slowed down now, but a lot of that I think is because of how expensive Georgetown has gotten. And I'm very fortunate. I have a job that Taxes going up. Oh yeah, it does suck, but it's whatever. But there are a lot of people that are retired on fixed incomes, veterans.
Lots of seniors.
Exactly.
Lots of seniors.
A big tax increase, it affects them. It affects them pretty significantly. And we need to stop that. We need to make sure that we've got smart growth, and that this whole annual appraisals, that needs to go away. There are a few states that do it, but we need to have some caps. Like, hey, we'll do appraisals every 3 years or every 5 years, and then put a cap on what the home value can be, because that's what prices people out. And I get it for building wealth. A rising, home value is good because then you can sell it and you'll have more money than you have. But then where are you going to go? I have a lot of neighbors that cashed out in 2020 and moved away from Texas because they know Texas is getting expensive. I don't want that for my daughter. I don't want that for your kids. I don't want that for people that are kind of stuck on, or not stuck, but with a fixed income. They should be able to buy a home, stay in that home, afford that home, and be able to stay in a community that they built, which is not currently the case. Also, for affordability, we need to have accountability on local government. I'm all for local government running things, but if the state says, okay, we're gonna increase or decrease the amount of taxes you have to pay to the state because we're increasing the amount of home exemption you're going to get, that's great in theory. But then the municipal localities or school boards, they're the ones that are kind of notorious for it, just raise the taxes on their own. We need to stop that. There needs to be some control and oversight on how much that grows. Also, we need to stop taxpayer-funded lobbyists. Every time that a school board or a city wants to propose something, they hire a lobbyist. Those lobbyists make tons of money, $400K, per person, and they hire 5 or 6 people. When it's a school board or it's a city or any kind of county that's hiring that lobbyist, that's our money that they're using to pay these lobbyists. And then there's never a dissenting opinion. Whenever there is, it's because citizens have got together and are like, this is a horrible idea. We need to stop this. We need to throw in our money to stop that. And maybe give people a dissenting opinion. Unfortunately, though, that's not the case. So these taxpayer-funded lobbyists are able to propose legislation. They make it really pretty on the ballot. When you see the ballot, you read it and you're like, oh, I like kids. I have 1 or 2. Of course, I'm going to vote for this. Unfortunately, they don't see the details of what is being proposed, what's on that prop, and the devil's in the details. That's really where you see things that are, a huge tax increase. And it's really great that I think just this last session, they passed, legislation saying that anything that's an increase, it'll say this is a tax increase. That's not enough. It's still not explaining the details. That is, our job to inform voters and to have, groups like Lost Pines Republican Women that can actually inform voters about what's going on with the prop. But there's still a lot of work that needs to be done on that. And taxpayer-funded lobbyists kind of take away from that. So I think that's a huge step that needs to go away.
Oh, yeah. Understand.
Yeah.
All right. Any last words for our audience that you want to share?
Yeah. I'm not a career politician. I've said that already, but I'm not. And I think that's a good thing. I've been effective in my civilian career as well as my military career. And I'm okay doing hard things. This is a hard thing. Running against an incumbent that has $3.4 million in his war chest before we started is difficult. I'm willing to get my hands dirty and to jump in there, get things done. And I don't want to be in office forever. I want to do a couple terms and then bounce out. I don't think anyone should be in office forever, which is the system that we have. It just kind of incentivizes that. So I absolutely want to change that. I think we need change. And again, I don't want to rock the boat too much. I want to do common sense changes, things that, actually align with our Republican conservative ideals. So I would definitely appreciate your vote. Make sure you're registered. March 3rd is an important day. These off-cycle elections where there isn't a president, being elected, there's really low turnout, and we need to fix that. I absolutely want to serve the people and want to serve you. So please vote for me on March 3rd.
Right. Thanks, Apollo.
Thank you so much. Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. And thanks again for tuning in. We look forward to offering you our next interview candidate soon. And stay tuned. Bye-bye.